All right, good afternoon and welcome to the August 2020 meeting of the Economic Club of Traverse City. I'm your president, Chris Rogers, and I'm pleased to have several panelists from TCNew Tech with us for today's event. I have a few brief announcements and then I will hand over the webinar to them. Our club will continue meeting via webinar for the fall meetings. Both out of necessity due to the current executive orders in place limiting the number of people that can meet inside, and out of consideration for the health of you and your guests. If there's a substantial change to this situation before the end of the year, the board will reconvene and adapt. We'd love to get back to in-person meetings, but want to ensure everybody's healthy and safe. As another reminder, we canceled the 2020 annual dinner that was scheduled for late September. We're looking to have a regular noon meeting that day instead. The board is looking ahead to 2021 and considering different scenarios, and will relay some options or information soon. I'm hoping that we'll be able to resume our usual meetings, but that remains to be seen. As always, I and the board appreciate your support and continued participation via the webinar format and any comments that you've shared. And we look forward to seeing everybody in person around town or at meetings as soon as possible. As a reminder, if you're viewing via Zoom, you can submit questions via the chat feature or the Q&A feature. I'll be monitoring those and I will ask them of the presenters after they finish their presentations. Now I have the privilege of welcoming Jennifer Szunko, Executive Director of TCNew Tech, Tim Heger, CTO, CISO of HealthBridge. I'm going to mention his name, although I don't think he can join today, Ben Marshall, CSP and Licensing Specialist, Blue Chip Consulting Group, and Lisa Baker-Lorincz, consultant at Access Point. Jennifer is going to share some more info about each of them, and you can read more about their bios on our website, tceconclub.com, and you can learn more about TCNew Tech on their website at tcnewtech.org. I'm going to turn off my video, but I'll remain available, Jennifer and others, if needed for a technical issue or anything else. So with that, Jennifer, if you want to take the reins and go from here. Thanks again,
Great.
guys.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, I'm Jennifer, the Executive Director from TCNew Tech. And if anyone is new to TCNew Tech, I can tell you a little bit about us. We launched in May of 2015 when our founder, Russ Schindler, was building his company, SampleServe, and he couldn't find local independent software programmers to help him, and he knew that they were around. So he was familiar with a program in Ann Arbor, a nonprofit organization that brought programmers together with people starting up their business. So he launched TCNew Tech in the spring of 2015, and started to gather a group in Traverse City of like-minded individuals that could lead this area to become the tech hub of the Midwest and build a great ecosystem for startups that included connecting with programmers and investors, and also just people that are interested in new technology, people that are interested in startups and innovation. So we now, before the pandemic, we had over 200 people attending our live events at the City Opera House. Now, since April, our events have all been virtual, just like this. First Tuesday of every month, we hold a pitch event where startups can pitch their ideas and in front of our audience, and the audience votes for the best pitch of the night to earn a $500 cash prize, and hopefully make a connection with investors or people that are interested in their new developments. So fast forward now from 2015 to 2020, and here we are all working from home due to the pandemic, and it's dramatically altered our workplace. We have Zoom calls, we have video conferencing, a lot of texting, and it's all replacing in-person meetings and those water cooler conversations. So some companies are allowing their staff to work from home permanently. There's still huge swaths of the labor force that are unable to work remotely. And it's really changing our economy. It's changing the landscape. And who knows what the future will bring. TCNew Tech has a great base of membership, but we have a unique group of individuals that make up our board of directors. So as Chris mentioned, we brought 3 of them here today to be able to talk about the how they are seeing this pandemic play out from their business or from their situation. And everyone is unique. We're come from different industries, but we do all are in this together. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Tim Heger from HealthBridge, one of our board members, and also someone who is dealing with the work from home situation. And let Tim tell you a little bit about how this is playing out from his perspective.
Thanks, Jennifer. And I'm excited to talk to everybody today. HealthBridge, I'll give you a little bit of background on the company and what we've done over the last couple of years. We started in May of 17 when I joined as employee number 3. We're a new type of employee benefit that helps people pay their out-of-pocket after insurance over time. And we work with employers, the providers, the payers, everybody in the whole healthcare ecosystem. We're founded by 2 very long-time healthcare and experts, Amy Chambers and Greg Vanderbosch. And so over the time in which they took the idea from concept to when I joined in 17, they had not yet got to the point where they're building on a tech team. And so when they asked me to join, I said, I'd love to join, but I'm just coming off of 17 years of being on the road. So from Monday through Friday, from 2000 to 2017, I got on a plane here at Cherry Capital Airport and took off with about 40 or 50 of the same people I saw every week. And the common thread was always, how do we get more high-paying, well-paying jobs in our market, and keep a lot of these people off the planes and driving that they're doing today. And so when I said I'd join, I said, but the thing will have to be is I want to be a co-located company. I want to have sales and marketing and customer service in Grand Rapids, but I want to have our technical team in Traverse City. I want to help try to build that new economy that we're focusing on up here. One of the big things that TCNew Tech really focuses on is how do we take entrepreneurs and investors and really build out the area. So for the first 6 or 8 months, I worked out of Grand Rapids, and then I transitioned up here to Traverse City and began the process of building my teams. In the pre-COVID days, there was a lot of, where is Traverse City? Well, why would I want to move there? Because my goal was not to hire remote workers. Now, I could hire 1 million remote workers tomorrow. I can get them all over the United States. I can hire them all over the world. I really wanted to try to find people who first met the qualifications that people were looking for, the quality, the experience. And then I wanted to find people who wanted to move here. And so I really found that we were really attracted to 2 main groups of people. The young families who are just starting to have children and realizing that they didn't want to raise their kids in New York City or Chicago or LA or the Bay Area. And they wanted to find a place where they could have a big city job, big city pay, but be able to have their families live in an amazing place like we have here in Traverse City. The second group of people that we're really attractive to is the people who have had a really great career and are looking for that one last great hurrah before they put the wheels down and land for retirement. And so those are the two main groups that we were talking to. And prior to COVID, it was always difficult to get people to move out of the big cities. You know, as a tech person, you're always, you know, trying to keep your eye going forward. And sometimes, you know, if things don't work out, you always think, well, where can I go to next, right? And if you move to Traverse City, and if it doesn't work out, say, for example, with Healthbridge, where do you go? You go to Haggerty, you go to Munson. There's some other really great entrepreneurs. There's not a deep technical community here. And so there was a lot of conversations, a lot of good people I lost because I couldn't convince them that this was the right move for them, that, you know, they would fit in and it'd all work out. And so, but I was able to grow my team. So it was myself, May of 17. And then prior to COVID, we were up to 22 people here in Traverse City, of which we moved in 12 of them. So we hired about 10 locals and then brought in about 12 people externally that were excited. And to almost everybody's experience, it's one of the two people in the relationship either vacationed here, lived here, had friends here, right? They had a parent here, and they wanted to come back. And so there was always one of the people in the relationship like, you know, we've moved enough, I'm going home, right? And so we were able to bring the people up here to the area. We moved out of 20 Fathoms where we were part of that whole process and we're in office now right above Boyne Country Sports at the corner of Union and Front Street. And we had about those 22 people in a pretty small office, right? We were shoulder to shoulder, stacked like cordwood, you know, the typical IT shop. And so pre-COVID, that was fine. Everybody got a little grumpy, you get a little tired of, you know, being in such close quarters. But then COVID hit, and we got the news, hey, you know, everybody's got to start working from home. Because we're a healthcare and HIPAA shop, security and the ability for people to be self-maintained, but we have the ability to understand what they're doing because of the possibility for data breaches. It was pretty easy for us to have everybody pick up their laptop and go home. Most people that are on my team had high-speed internet. They were able to, you know, find a spot in their house, a table, a corner, a bedroom, and set up. And so that transition for us was pretty seamless. We at one point in the building of the company, we had about 30 people also on the team in the Ukraine that we were working with, and so we had this very large, diverse, global group of people that got used to having to talk to people by Slack, which is an office communication tool, or by Zoom or Ring Central meetings, which we now are living on every day. And so as we made that transition, you know, it became evident that for us anyways, there was a little bit that's lost, right? So we were finding, I'm a big metrics and numbers driven person. And so we measure everything. If you don't measure it, you can't achieve it, right? And so we found that we were 30% more effective being co-located. We think that, and the people on my leadership team with me, that those side conversations, those water cooler conversations, that hey, let's go grab lunch conversations, that just don't happen when you have to get on a call, right? You have to set up a call, you gotta get on a call, you know, you just can't have that lean over and talk to somebody process. It just isn't happening as well as it was before. You know, we use Slack incessantly all day long. We set up Zoom meetings all day long, but we've worked through that process of trying to get back to that level of efficiency. I think we're getting closer. Some of the anecdotal evidence is that although there's not much of a commute here in Traverse City, people being able to get up and at 7:05 or 7:30 instead of having to get ready for the day and get the kids out the door, they just sit down at the computer, knock out some emails. They put the kids to bed and they do a little bit more because they're not frazzled from the comings and goings. And so we are seeing a little bit more time spent working. But my concern and worry is that with work always being there, if you're not a good person at turning off work, shutting the laptop and not being engaged, that we may end up with some people who overwork themselves. They burn out a little bit. And so we're constantly working on ways to try to make sure that people are balancing work life. We're a startup. We have crazy hours. We have unreasonable deadlines. And so we work really hard to try not to work, 80, 90 hours a week, but we definitely, I don't think I've seen a 40-hour work week since April of 17, right? So it comes with the territory of being an entrepreneur and being part of a fast-moving startup. So then fast forward through COVID, the dark days, everybody had no idea what's going on. Is this thing going to grind the whole country to a halt? There's a lot of entrepreneurs that got taken out during this process, that either they lost their market, they lost their investors, those type of things. We fortunately became more relevant than we ever have been. And so it became very evident that people's ability to afford their healthcare is super critical in uncertain economic times. And so, we've been seeing a real uptick. And so, I shrunk the team a little bit when COVID hit, just for, cash conservancy and making sure that we were prepared for whatever happened. And now we're back in the hiring phase, right? So now we're back into replacing the people we lost and bringing new people in. And what I'm finding now is that now that you hear every day in the news that big company X, Twitter, Yahoo, you name it, says that their people can work from home forever if they want. All of a sudden, Traverse City becomes a very viable option for every tech person in the United States, because they're no longer going to be required to travel into Seattle or into the Bay Area or whatever. And so we are seeing actually an increase in the quality of candidates who are willing to not only discuss working with a startup like ourselves, but also, even though we no longer require people to move here because you really have to follow the market, that's probably one of the primary reasons that we're having people talk with us, is that they're excited about the opportunity to park their family in a great city, a great area. The three legs of the stool that makes people is their work, their things they can do outside the work, and the quality of the place they live. We've got two of those three things in spades, right? We've got the most beautiful place in the world to live. We've got amazing things to do, from riding bikes to skiing. I mean, whatever thing you're into outside of work, we have it, right? And so if you can give them a big city quality opportunity and career, we now all of a sudden go way up on the ladder of potential places to work. I don't agree with and don't support the view of the Bay is twice the Bay, or half the pay. We are a company that we pay twice the median income of Grand Traverse County. We are on par with those people and the wages they're making in the big cities, because they have to be, right? Yes, the cost of living is less than living in some of those big cities, and we can talk about a reasonable gap in pay differences, maybe 10 or 15% at the most. But if you want the best people, you've got to pay the prices that those people get. And so, we've always budgeted for hiring the best, bringing in the best, because we have one shot at doing this thing right. And so we are really focused on doing that and doing it well. And so our experiences with COVID is that, to recap, and I'm not sure exactly, I don't have a little stopwatch up if I'm eating into somebody else's time, but the recap is that it kind of knocked us off our feet for a little bit. We're working out the communication parts, but I really think that it's actually going to be a blessing in disguise for us to be able to attract and retain and move super high quality people, that they're the type of people we want to live in Traverse City, right? So I tell people that we are diverse by happenstance. I hire the best people, and if you happen to be a woman, if you happen to be Indian, if you happen to be African American or Caribbean, I don't care, right? And so by having that, we are also helping our community become a lot more diverse. And I think a lot of other entrepreneurs are going to find that, as these people are willing to seek and go to other places. So, it's hard, it's disheartening sometimes, and all the stuff that's going on in the world in COVID. But I think that we're going to come out on the other side of this, a better country, a better economy, and Traverse City, I think, is going to do fantastic. So, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. And yeah, you were talking mostly about your employees, but I know you're talking about the time that you're putting in as well to your job. I know you're very committed to that and its success. And in addition to the work that you do with us at TCNew Tech, and I can totally identify with what you were talking about with regards to the long hours, and your work is in your home, so it's always there. So next up, we're going to try to bring you another board member, Ben Marshall. And Ben can't be here today. It's kind of interesting. Just this week, his company was bought out by another company. So that sort of changed his day today, how things were going. He's still with Blue Chip Consulting Group, but they are now involved with a bigger company. And he's always been involved in IT strategy. He's a great one as a tech resource for me at TCNew Tech. And so he created a video for us to show you today to talk a little bit about how his work life has been since he has been with dealing with COVID. So I'm going to attempt to bring this up, and if for some reason it doesn't work, then we will move on real quickly. So for some reason I don't get this going, you let me know.
Should you turn up a little louder, Jen, please?
Okay.
Hey, Jen. Yeah, I think it's, Jennifer, can you hear me? This is Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, we might need to share that
Okay.
separately, unfortunately. If there's a way for me to make the audio better, I don't know enough to do that, and it's quiet. So, you know, if there's a way to share a link and whatnot.
No, I completely understand. So we will go ahead and move on in our presentation. I can tell you that one thing about Ben is that he has been, he worked from home even before COVID, and he was always in IT. So this is nothing new for him, but in his role, he works to get companies into remote situations. So it's actually made him very busy. He can help set up an IT department and get all of your workers working remotely. So that's why I thought his story would be really interesting today. In addition to being working from home, he's got a lot of experience there, but now he also is helping other companies to work remotely. So yeah, hopefully we can share his video another way. But in the meantime, I want to introduce you to another board member. She's also a founding member at TCNew Tech, and that is Lisa Baker-Lorincz. And let's get her up there. So Lisa specializes in human resources and helping companies to get set up with their human resource departments. She also works from home. So she has more wisdom to share from a little different perspective. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, Lisa.
You're on mute.
Okay, I can hear all of you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your patience. So Jen and I are a little used to this platform, having done TCNew Tech now for what was supposed to be 1 month, going on number 7 next week, Tuesday at 6 o'clock. So we're used to having patience and humbling ourselves with this technology. So thank you for your patience, and thank you for the warm introduction, Jen. Thank you and hello, Econ Club members. I was a former Econ Club member and would love to get back engaged. So this is a great opportunity, and thank you for taking the time with me today. So I want to share with you a personal and professional perspective in March, heading home to work. And with 3 teenagers, homeschooling, I have 2 lab dogs. My husband's a real estate appraiser. He's also home. My desk was at my dining room table. So I quickly learned how to adapt to the virtual meeting platforms. And as you can imagine, Zoom, GoToMeeting, Microsoft Teams, Google Meets, etc. I was met with a variety of challenges, including personal preference. Folks that use Teams from Microsoft aren't always open and adaptable to using Google Meets. Some manufacturers don't even have adaptability within their software to use Google. And so there were a lot of challenges at the beginning getting used to different platforms. So I'm used to meeting in person with clients and prospects. I'm used to meeting with my team in person, being in HR, the human aspect of relationships in business was just the way we did it. And that's been almost completely removed in the last several months. So we've learned a lot of things. I know that, learning to host a virtual meeting has its own set of rules, including, I didn't realize this, but a little note that I use GoToMeeting because we are on a Jive network. So all of our phones, emails, CRM systems, meetings are all interconnected. So I initiate a GoToMeeting. Several people can connect with me either by phone or in the meeting. I can't initiate that meeting on my phone. So working in Northern Michigan, we all know summers are crucial to, taking your time at the beach. So trying to be creative, having family in town or just having your family at the beach, I think it was June or July, I tried to initiate a GoToMeeting from my phone. And a note to self, you can't do that. You have to be on your PC to initiate the meeting. So I'm texting and emailing all of my attendees to please join by phone. Anyway, I digress. So there was a lot of humbling experiences and really being able to have a relationship with the folks on the other end on a very personal level, because we made mistakes, just like what just happened with my my volume. Having business meetings with high-level executives and professionals, we all just were able to take it down a notch, learn at the same pace, and really interact with one another on a more personal level, which I appreciated. So I'll move on into the fact that, I've got other ways of communicating, which I think has come back. Jen and I were talking about this prior to today's call. Picking up the phone has not been something that we've been used to in the last year. Everybody's been emailing. Our inboxes began to get flooded with COVID-related information. And the best interactions that I've had have been phone calls, and three-way phone calls. In fact, I had a meeting the other day, I added somebody in and I could hear giggling on the other end of the line. And what they said back to me is, I'm sorry for laughing, but I haven't been on a three-way call since high school. You know, we're all doing that again and staying connected and finding ways that we can all share a conversation. It's crucial, especially in the world of human resources, when you're walking through certain things, they really need to be talked out. And so leveraging, you know, phones, computers, et cetera. As a business consultant for Access Point, we're a venture employer services company. And what we do is we help business owners solve problems in the area of human resources, workers' compensation, safety and risk, benefits administration, and payroll. I serve the Northern Michigan region right from our office over here on Park Street and from my kitchen table over in South Creek subdivision, if you're interested. And our team at Access Point, like I said, we began working remotely almost immediately after the shutdown. Our president and CEO began to have team huddles almost every other week or more as needed as things popped up within the company. The entire company would jump on a call very similar to this to just check in. He would give us company updates, what communications were going to be going out to our clients and prospect in the coming days. And we would celebrate things like wins, both personally and professionally, folks that were having babies, etc. Really gave us a way to stay connected and have something to look forward to. It also gave us a way to make announcements that were scheduled so that we weren't trying to inundate people's inboxes and congratulatory messages in a reply all scenario. And I think we've all been familiar with what happens in those types of cases. So by April, we learned that we needed to start incentivizing those meeting attendance. And I share that because we've shared our best practices with our clients. So in order to get the best participation with these meetings, our CEO and some of our managers began to give random giveaways and prizes like Starbucks and Amazon gift cards. And as you can imagine, our emails, like I mentioned, we're getting flooded. And so this meeting was important to bring attention to and highlight where within those messages we needed to find relevance, which emails we needed to begin saving and which ones we could sort of, move to the wayside, which emails or information were good to forward, et cetera. So this meeting was important to bring attention to and highlight those things. Where we were going, obviously, we needed to have a vision together as a team and an opportunity to, again, filter out some of the noise. We also began to hear stories of our coworkers who had been affected personally by COVID. And for me, I think that was provided a pretty good insight as to why some of our clients could benefit from doing some similar things and having these huddles. And it gave you an opportunity to really appreciate, for me, living in Northern Michigan. Some of my clients are not in Northern Michigan. I mean, we're all over the United States, including Lower Michigan. Most of my clients are, but being close to the water and being in the section of Michigan that we are and being able to really step away and sit back and say, I've got this giant, beautiful body of water that I can go to. I can still kind of walk downtown and we're not boarded up and like some folks that I know working in New York City. I mean, it is still very much open air here in Northern Michigan, and that was a huge blessing. So we immediately began to do outreach to our clients and prospects, providing webinars and COVID-related items, creating a COVID compliance specific site on our webpage. And again, I remind you, if anybody is just stepping on, we're in the human resources, labor-related compliance area of life. So anything to do with workers' comp, benefits administration, et cetera. And so COVID created an entirely new set of rules that are ongoing. So we're learning every single day and trying to accommodate those. So the better thing that we did is that we began calling our clients very, very regularly just to check in and see how they were doing. From time to time, things would pop up that they were thinking about calling, but they got so busy that they just never did. And there are certain things within HR that are interconnected. Unless you talk them through or you talk with a professional in that specific area, you don't always realize if somebody goes out on a COVID-related PTO, what happens when they come back? What happens if that, if that position is absent for a period of time and you hire someone new to replace that position and you need to bring that other person in? We had a lot of PPP loan questions. And so providing information by phone, by email, web updates, providing continued conversation, capturing those webinars that we created and sharing the information, housing them on our website, And then also expanding our referral network. In May, or even prior to May, we started to have clients call asking for reports for PPP loan support, advice on remote workforce onboarding, and general compliance questions. So Access Point provides an online platform that makes remote workforce and labor management really seamless. There's a lot of those in the industry. If you're on Pandora, you hear about them every other commercial. And technology has been fantastic to assist the business owners in onboarding employees even as they work from home. So you're not able to invite an employee into your environment and welcome aboard, please fill out all your employee information, right? How do you do that? As well as I-9 verification. And there are workarounds and there are ways to do those. In fact, we've been given some relief from I-9 compliance just throughout this COVID experience, and we've been able to be helpful for that. I made some notes, so let me reference them so I don't miss anything really amazing to share with you here. Compliance and culture were certainly the hot topics. And if I was to look back at the last 6 months and say, what were my clients and prospects really talking about? It was how to remain compliant, how do we stay in business, or how quickly can we get out of business if they can't afford it? We did lose, some clients have lost their companies, unfortunately. And then how do we keep our team really jiving together so we can keep the mission and vision and values of the organization moving forward? So COVID obviously influenced everybody personally, professionally. We obviously have essential and non-essential workers, both in our work and then as clients and as prospects, and having people in and out of the state. We've received, I was telling Jen this also, several leads that were scams. So right now, everything being technologically advanced, we do all of our payrolls. I think everybody that's here is probably familiar with an ACH or a direct deposit, right? So we started to get calls, or I got calls even, from companies that wanted to transition their 1099 workers to W-2 employees. They were in an essential work business, let's say. So they were manufacturers. They had 15 people. They wanted to set them up with payroll right away and get them working. Well, traditionally, we would go in and do a lot of compliance and meet them, do a walkthrough and see if there were any safety and risk issues, see their team, make sure that they were it wasn't a sweatshop or that people were of age, and do all the I-9 verification. There were a few workarounds that we can do due to COVID, but it really required us to level up our security. And what had happened is, and we've always been very cognizant of cybersecurity and properly vetting our prospects and clients, but we were able to notice very fast that there were several, and they continue to come through, groups that will send a lot of information, direct deposit information, and try to get you to process a payroll via ACH that it's not legit. So just being aware of that. But what that has also brought is that Access Point, we're an HR company. Well, now, and even before this, but now even more so, it's easier to explain to prospects that we actually include cybersecurity in our contract. So you actually have to sign an opt-out to not have that be part of the service model. So prior to March, there was a lot of sensitivity. Well, why would I need that, et cetera, et cetera. And almost every time now it's like, well, geez, thank you. You can't have enough. I have someone to manage everything, but if it's only XYZ amount, this is a great opportunity. And as you can imagine, we're collecting a lot of personal data for payroll, benefits, et cetera. And it has to be shared securely and it has to be housed securely. So we're able to share these best practices with our clients and assure them that their information is protected. And how I secure business is very different today, where I used to be able to sit next to a prospect and review documentation, get all the autographs and signatures that I need. Every deal that I've done since March has been signed electronically using DocuSign. That was something that I've always had access to. I just always preferred to do it in person. But it's happening a lot. And so I've been sent documents to sign electronically. So it's a very, it makes things very easy, but it also makes, our world a little bit less personal and a little bit more consumer, what's the word I'm trying to say? We really need to read the fine line items more than you ever have before, because very quickly things can just be kind of sent to you and you sign something and you have to really know who you're engaging with and how you're partnering with folks. So since, moving into September, we've had clients, like I mentioned, lose their business. They've closed. We've had clients that have pivoted and gone a completely different vertical and made really, really good advances in their organization because of COVID. We've also had new opportunities and expanded workforce and relationships, very much like Tim mentioned, you know, really being able to leverage our area and businesses that have said, hey, you know, you can move here, but you can work remotely until you're able to secure, you know, a place to stay, et cetera, et cetera. There's just a lot of things going on. You know, Access Point, in closing, our mission is to support entrepreneurs, business owners with teams of all sizes and all industry. And you can access our information at apteam.com. I'm going to check on my time here because I think I'm getting to the end. But I want to say that, and I'd like to call myself an optimist, right? But this world that we're living in with COVID has also created a lot of additional opportunity. Organizing Manufacturing Day right now through the Manufacturing Council. And prior to, you know, this environment, we had about 32 manufacturers in the Northern Michigan region. We had around 1,200 students that would go through these manufacturers. And this year, you know, the schools aren't even busing people. They're not getting together. And so we had to come up with a way to manage that. We're going to launch on October 2nd, shameless plug for Manufacturing Day, because I think it's really, really important. Manufacturing is a great, I think 20 to 30% of the market share in Northern Michigan. So it's really important to show our young individuals still in school, these are mainly 8th graders, what opportunities are available to them and the dollars that they can make doing these jobs. We are now able to start showcasing industry that we weren't able to get into before. So we couldn't tour you know, food processing prior to now, but we can do it electronically. So we can do electronic tours. We can actually now, we have our homeschoolers are going to get involved and be able to view these. So just like TCNew Tech, our audience is expanding. Our ability to see the insides of places without having to personally be there has expanded. These types of conversations, even being able to share the economic club message today with some folks in my company and in my family, you know, your econ club opportunities are being shared and expanded. And so I think, you know, leveraging technology in that way, I think has been very positive. And overall, I'm just thankful to be in a region that is primarily safe and secure up here. And I, again, appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the call today. And hopefully we'll see you everybody on Tuesday at 6 for TCNew Tech. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. And Lisa is very cognizant of the time issue because she is my co-host on our monthly live streaming event. So we use a little different technology than Zoom. So we are learning new things every day, which we use in work, we use personally. And one thing at TCNew Tech, we are still seeing all kinds of startups, all kinds of individuals working to start new businesses, create jobs, whether it's in Traverse City or beyond. And we still have investors that are investing in those startups to help get them launched. And so we are very optimistic, as Lisa said, about the future. If you are in technology or anything related to technology, it's a really busy time right now. And it's we're very hopeful for what becomes of this. I think our world will look a little different in how we react, how we interact with people, but it's definitely going to be, you know, we'll make the best of it and it will be a good thing in the end. But that's all that we have for now from TCNew Tech. Our next event is happening on Tuesday, September 1st at 6 o'clock, and you can find out more information at tcnewtech.org. And thanks, Chris, for hosting us. And we can open up for any questions you have.
Jennifer, Lisa, Tim, thank you for your presentations and information. I'm going to read two Ruth submitted a couple questions via the chat, and Tim answered them via text. And Tim, you can reiterate your comments, for anybody that doesn't see this. But one question was, do you plan to keep hiring young people in this area? If so, how can you, quote, sell this area to a diverse youth? So if Tim or Lisa, if you wanted to jump in with an audio.
I'll jump in real quick and just say, I think that the youth, my kids are 28, 26, and 24. The outside of work is probably as important to them as work, right? So the stuff that we offer here in Traverse City, I think, is the stuff that makes it easy to sell our area. And so I think that we actually are going to do much better with this generation than previous generations on selling them why they should come here.
I could add to that too. TCNew Tech is really involved in a program we've offered for the last few years called Boomerang Homecoming, and it's where we encourage the talent that may have left this area to come back and seek out jobs. So it's like a job fair. But this year we're expanding it and we're working with the entire state. So we have a week-long job fair to encourage those people who had left to come back to the area and bring their skills and their talent. So I think there's openings all the time, and we definitely are working to create jobs in this area, high-paying jobs.
In each of your experience, what's the toughest type of position to fill for each of your respective companies, or that you've observed for other companies or startups? Is it tech oriented? Is it project management? Is it human resources or other?
For me, it's the mid-career people, the people who are in the beginning of their career, they're more open to move. People at the top third of their career, they're more open to move. It's the ones that are in the middle that sometimes are hardest to convince that a move to a town like this would be a great move for them professionally.
Yeah, what we hear in our neck of the woods is that it's the folks that are trying to fill the positions, they're filling them with positions with people that are currently working. So the landscape of recruiting is a little bit different. They're not all just graduating from college. They're likely working in that position somewhere else. And so back to your point of really making this an attractive opportunity and give them the ability to work remotely while they make the transition. And we all know the housing market up here, but we also are very well networked, so we can leverage those networks as much as possible. I've seen some very creative housing solutions and some good offers based on the fact that you're recruiting with folks who are already working.
Gotcha. Kind of as a concluding inquiry to each of you, I wonder if, in addition to any final words you may have, do you have any tips for founders or presenters at TCNew Tech, whether it's how to do a good presentation and win the $500, or, if you're thinking of starting a company here in Traverse City, what should you consider, and what have you learned from your history?
I can address that. And there are other pitch events besides TCNew Tech all over the country. And I think those are a great opportunity to get your name out there and to find mentorship. In Traverse City, through 20 Fathoms, the incubator, we have, they have a great mentorship program, and they're going to start working with our pitch presenters to review their pitch deck so it's perfected. But also, we're about to launch a partnership with a platform that brings together the investors and those startups and helps them to present their material in a consistent manner that makes it easy for an investor to evaluate the deal so that there are more closures. But the entrepreneurial ecosystem is not for everybody. It's you gotta, it's probably not what you expected. It's kind of like parenthood. You don't know it until you try it, but it's fantastic lifestyle, but you got to work hard at it.
Excellent. Good words of advice. So, I think that's a great presentation. I'm glad to learn more about each of your companies and TCNew Tech as well. And your information's up on our website. The members can, our members and guests and those that view this can go there and learn more about each of you and your companies and your endeavors. And that's exciting for Traverse City and well beyond. So thank you very much, Jennifer, Tim, and Lisa, for your time in preparing and attending today and sharing your insights. Jennifer, I'll follow up with you to see if we can get Ben's video to share with our members. And I'm sure that was well done and interesting, and it's neat that he's, his company is doing well, it sounds like. Let me think. I'm just wrapping up here. So as a remember, and this is quite clear from your comments, sounds like there's an event Tuesday evening. If you go to tcnewtech.org, you can log in or join or figure out how to attend or view that. And then there's a couple different levels, it looks like, to either have the opportunity to present at some point or vote or sponsor. So that's pretty neat. And to our members, just a reminder, the September meeting will be a lunch meeting. We'll get more information out via email soon. Feel free to share any comments back to us via phone or email or the comment on our website, and we'll take anything into consideration. I hope everybody has a nice weekend, and take care.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thanks.